Hi there, I'm Kim Tisor, your Family Advocacy Program Assistant at the Detroit Arsenal, here with the very lovely Pandora Brown, your Family Advocacy Program Manager. And we are back today to talk about another very serious topic. We are here to talk about child abuse.
That's right, Kim. Last week we tackled domestic violence, and this week we want to learn more about the seriousness of child abuse. What to do if you suspect a child is being abused, and what to do if you yourself have been accused of child abuse. To help with our discussion today, we've asked Nina Manauis, who is a Child Protective Services supervisor in Macomb County, to join us. And we're going to welcome Nina now.
Yeah, I was going to say she'll be with us right now.
Hi. Hi, Nina.
Can you hear us okay?
She's connecting to audio now. I can see at the bottom.
Connecting to audio. I see that. Yes. We can see her, which is good. And hopefully she'll be able to hear us soon.
Mm-hmm.
Pandora, I know you know Nina, right? You've met Nina before.
I do know Nina, yes. I can see, looking at Nina, I haven't seen her in a while, but I sure look at that hair and I see Nina what is this, COVID-19. The hair is very long. I love it though.
Oh,
can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm sorry I was having a little bit of audio difficulty, so.
That's okay. I'm digging your background.
Wow.
Oh, I do too. I like the background too. Look at you.
Oh, yes, yes. It's an interesting backdrop, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, Nina, obviously we have you on today to discuss a very serious topic. We're here to talk about child abuse. But before we really dive in, could you tell us just a little bit maybe about your position as the Services Program Manager, what that entails?
Yes, for sure. So I am employed by the state of Michigan in Macomb County, and I supervise Children's Protective Service case field workers. So part of my duties is to, just guide them through investigations, assure that policy is being followed, meet with families if we are in the process of considering possible court intervention. And again, just educating our families with what is available in the community to assist them with any safety or crisis concerns they may be dealing with.
Yes. Well, thank you, Nina. We know that, I know everyone that Nina's worked there for a while. I actually worked for Child Protective Services myself in Macomb County. But for our audience today, can you just let everybody know what child abuse is and what it isn't?
Okay, well, I'll start by just kind of giving you a quick definition based on how it's written in the child protection law.
Thank you.
So child abuse is described as the non-accidental physical or mental injury, sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, or maltreatment of a child under the age of 18 by a perpetrator who is a parent, legal guardian, or any other person who is responsible for that child's health and welfare. And the second definition, which we deal with quite frequently, would be considered child neglect. And that is also considered the harm or threatened harm to a child's health or welfare that occurs through negligent treatment, including failure to provide adequate food, clothing, shelter, or medical care, and which places the child at an unreasonable risk by the parent, legal guardian, or other person responsible for that child's health or welfare.
Nina, are you able to address? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pandora.
Well, I just wanted to say that thank you for that thorough definition, because I think what a lot of us don't understand is what just disciplining your child. If you want to spank your child, for instance, that's not in that definition that you just described. Some parents are afraid to even discipline or hit their child, but when you read that, it's not that, if you will. So can you just tell us?
No, I mean, it's not against the law to use physical discipline. When it becomes an issue for protective services is that if the child becomes injured in the process. So if there is a mark or an injury that results, that is a valid reason why we may become involved in an investigation if we do receive a complaint such a nature. You know, when we do speak with parents about utilizing physical discipline, you know, we recommend that, I mean, we don't really recommend physical discipline, but if you do choose to use it, you know, you should be doing it over the clothing. Try not to use it in a moment of anger, which to me is kind of a cliche because usually when you're disciplining, there's some kind of anger going on there. So we really try to just talk with the parent about alternate means, but by no means can you say that you can't physically discipline your child. But you do run the risk if a injury results, you may be dealing with protective services.
Well, Pandora and I recently had a video where we talked about domestic violence, and the pandemic has certainly caused those numbers to rise. And we're wondering if the same thing has happened with child abuse cases. Has the pandemic, you know, changed those numbers at all?
Actually, we have unfortunately had a decrease in the numbers in Macomb County as far as our referrals are concerned. And I attribute that largely to the fact that school has been out. The majority of the reports that we do receive are through our mandated sources, which under the guidelines of the Child Protection Law are professionals who, if they suspect abuse and neglect, are mandated by the law to report it to Children's Protective Services. So with schools being out, we tend to see a decrease in those reports. And I mean, this mandated reporters can be in the medical profession, law enforcement, a hospital setting, or school administrators, clergy, faith leaders. They all fall under that umbrella of being a mandated reporter. So we have seen a decrease, I would say, in the month of February. We have a centralized intake line. So if someone wants to report abuse and neglect, that is where they start the complaint process. Our centralized intake in the month of February received over 800 calls, and approximately half of those were assigned in the month of February. Now, going down to May, we've seen a decrease of almost half that as far as the reporting goes, although still assigning half those that came in. So I've definitely seen a decrease in the numbers. That doesn't mean it's not occurring. I just think it's being underreported. And some of that can be attributed to things that you had touched on, Kim, you know, domestic violence, the fear of reporting, the fear of retribution. There's a lot of things, you know, people are not prosecuted or punished for calling. And I think that's a lot of what individuals fear in the community that aren't educated on the reporting process. We, by law, cannot reveal who reporting source is. That is confidential. The only way that can be revealed is through a judicial order or through the consent of the reporting person. So it's important to let the public know that they are considered to be reporting in good faith and can't be prosecuted in any way for, you know, reporting what they feel is a real concern for child safety.
That's really good, because people need to know that nothing is going to happen. I'm glad that you shared that. So what will we do if we know someone that's being abused, if we know a child that's being abused?
Well, if you do have a concern that you feel a child is being abused or neglected, the first process in reporting would be to contact our centralized intake line. And they basically take all the reports for the state of Michigan, and then it's assigned based on where the child is physically residing in the state. So it's pretty much broken down county by county. When you call the intake line, the number to call in the state of Michigan is 855-444-3911. At that time, you will be connected to a CPS intake worker who will ask you a series of questions. So the general consensus when you call, if you do have this type of information available, would be to have, you know, the family's demographic information, you know, if you have an address, phone number, all that is very important. It's not absolutely necessary, but it's extremely helpful in a case where we have to track a family down. Not all the time do people, you may witness something in the community where maybe you can only get a license plate number or a make of a car, but all of that information will be asked of you. We try to get as much identifying information as we can. Then they basically will ask you a series of questions as to, what you witnessed, what you saw, what you heard. Based on that, they will run different inquiries. If we have a name, that's wonderful. If not, we do the best with what we have. And at that point, the centralized intake unit will make a determination if we have enough to actually assign the matter for an investigation. I think it's important for people to realize that just because we don't assign something for an investigation, it doesn't fall by the wayside. We do have a system in place. So if we may have a family that came to our attention that at this point we didn't have enough to assign, but another red flag comes in down the road, that might be sufficient for them to pull up and say, we need to take a closer look at this. So it's really a case by case. There's no absolute, but the more information and detail you can provide, the better the chances are of someone taking a look at it if it meets the definition of abuse and neglect per the Child Protection Law.
I'm hoping I can pose this question correctly. And the reason I want to ask this is I had a friend, and this was years ago, that was turned in for child abuse because she'd picked her daughter up late in the evening. She got off work late, and her daughter had a jacket on, and her daughter slept through the night with this jacket because the daughter was asleep. The mom didn't want to bother, waking the girl up to put her in pajamas. And so when she woke up the next morning and went into the daycare place again, she had marks on her wrists from the jacket, and they actually turned her in for child abuse, and she was mortified. So I guess my question is, what should a parent think and do if they feel falsely accused of child abuse? Can they trust the system, I guess maybe is the question.
Well, and that's basically why we do what we do as far as being assigned to investigate. We don't, we are there to, when our staff comes out there to collect facts and to present what's been reported. I think initially a lot of our first time meetings can be very tense, or they can be to the point where, people are very cooperative. It's really the luck of the draw. As far as when we do get a complaint that may involve a child injury, we typically will request that the child is taken for a medical exam and get a medical opinion if there is not a reasonable explanation for the injury. And it's something there that, it's a process. It's not something that our workers just go into the home and remove children. There is a whole legal process. In order to remove a child from a home, we have to have a taken to custody order, which is granted through the juvenile court. We have to file a petition. It's, that's why we have 30 days to conduct an investigation. And many of my staff, take the stance when they go out is that, I'm here to hear your side of the story. I think as a parent, it would be very difficult for a stranger to come into my home and say, yes, I'm here to look at you. We've got this complaint. It's very shocking for people. And so we try to respect that and be professional and understand that it is an upsetting process, but we're there to do our job and hopefully make sense of whatever it is being reported. If there's services that we can put in place, wonderful. If it is a bogus complaint, hopefully we are able to rule that out. And, it's really a case by case. I can't give you an exact science how each complaint, I guess, unrolls or unravels. But the bottom line is you may get a complaint that sounds awful and you go out and it's really not as bad as you think. then we get those complaints where they don't sound very bad and they can be extremely. So it's the luck of the draw. There's no cookie cutter pattern how to, how a case turns out or whether or not the court will become involved. We really do try to maintain children in their household based on the fact that separation is very traumatic on a child from their family. So if we can all maintain child safety, our preference is to keep that child in their home or at least connected to a relative that's appropriate if, we do have to go to the route of involving the court.
That's important for people to hear, I think, who don't know that. The goal is to keep the children with their parents if at all possible.
Yeah,
that's right. And that is the goal of Child Protective Services. It's not to remove children. So a lot of times people think, oh, they're just going in taking children, but that's not what it is at all. The whole idea is family reunification and keeping the family together. One of my roles as a family advocacy program manager is to train mandated reporters, Nina, on how to look for child abuse, what it looks like, what the process is. And a lot of times, a lot of people are just afraid to call because they don't want to make another staff member or another family member, a parent, if you will, upset, like they're going to be mad at me. But one of the things that I try to tell people is that you make the call and then the investigator will follow up. But the important thing for us as mandated reporters is to make that call and that the process go. And at least you sleep better at night. We've heard too many stories of kids that are adults now that said, I was trying to tell them, but they didn't. Nobody did anything. So you don't want to have that as years go by, So having experienced working there, Kim, I can tell you that really over 90%, the whole idea, it's an educational moment. Most of the job of a child protective services worker is to educate the family on a lot of the resources that are available out there. And because of this discussion today, we found out, thank you, Nina, as far as what the definition of child abuse is, what it looks like, what to do if you suspect child abuse, and what it looks like when you actually have an investigation. Is there anything else today you want to share with us?
I just want to share a link that you can go to if you'd like to get more information on the mandated reporting process, which is at www.michigan.gov / mandated reporter, all lowercase, one word. So.
Okay. We'll be sure to put that down on our video at the end. Also, the different points in terms of you giving the definition. That was really good. We can look that up and put that on there for people because I think people really don't know what it is and what it looks like. We would like to have you back on our show to talk about the resources that's available in the community so that our staff and will know what's going on. So we thank you for coming out today.
Well, and thank you for having me, and I will be very happy to come back and join the two of you again in the future.
Thank you.
Yay. Thank you, Nina. It was so nice meeting you too.
You too as well.
Okay.
You guys have a great day.
Thanks.
Okay.
You too.
Bye-bye.
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 Well, let's see. Okay. Well, that was another very good discussion, and that is all the time we have for today's edition of Self-Care Transformation. If there was a burning question you had for Nina, let us know. Put that in the comments section below because we can reach out to Nina, ask her, and give you that information during our next video. We do try to keep these short, so we didn't go real in depth. There's a lot more we could have covered. So again, we'd love to hear your questions.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.